Good morning, guys. Good morning. Today we are gonna start yet another awesome, super cool, super amazing series for the Neet 2022 batch Aspiration series continuation with or the foundation course of ICSE or UPSC or state syllabus students to continue with the NCRT textbook. We are launching a foundation course and whereby we will be completing the first chapter, The Living World, today launching Hearts, the exclusive channel presenting before you Aspiration series for the 2022 batch Neet aspirants. Today we will be doing the Living World, chapter Living World, the first chapter of biology, and today we'll be discussing the very basic things of this chapter, moving further for the sweet Neet 2022 aspirants. Okay, so guys, if you like this video, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel Hearts. One like, one plus share, and one subscribe for our channel Hearts. So we are moving further to yet another super cool and absolutely amazing session on living worlds. So before learning these properties of living organism, you can know or you should be able to define what is life. So what is life? We can say that the life is a process by which or life is a physico-chemical entity in which exhibit the power of adaptation, growth, irritability, locomotion, metabolism, and all. So before this, you can see or you should be able to define or you should be aware to define what is life. It's a very important point of this chapter. And the very important thing, the very base of this lesson, what is life, and we'll be going on to the minute details. Though it's a one shot series, if we are not able to complete it in one shot, we will be doing another session. Okay, fine. So life, we can say that it is a physical chemical. Physical means physical. Okay, to add these two words, we add it as physical chemical entity. Okay, in which the living organism show distinctive properties such as growth, reproduction, metabolism, locomotion. That's the ability to move from one place to another. That is what is said to be locomotion. And all these processes in which the living organism, so that the living organism show refers to what the very base known as life. Clear? And that is what is all about life. Next, you are going to learn what are these distinctive properties. So as you see, you can hear in this slide, you can see that some distinctive properties such as growth, reproduction, ability to sense environment and mount a suitable response, metabolism, ability to self-replicate, self-organization, interact. All these are the certain points that you can see in this certain slide. Okay, and here you can see that the dogs grow, plants grow, though this is the very first point of this characteristic, that is the growth. Okay, now we are going to discuss about what is all about the growth. Okay, you can see that the plant in this Defi is growing. Okay, increasing the days, it is growing. So what is growth? We see that all these are growing. Then what is growth? Growth is increase in mass and increase in number of individuals. Are twin characteristics of growth: increase in mass and increase in number of individuals. So we can say that growth, all living organism grow, which we see all living organism grow. It's a very basic point. Okay, all of you know that all living organism grow. And this living organism, what is growth? It's an increase in height, weight, body mass. All these what is said to be what growth. A multicellular organism grows by cell division. In plants, growth occurs continuously throughout their lifespan, while in animals, growth be seen only up to certain age. For example, boys, the growth ultimately increase in height almost stops around the age of 22 years, whereas in girls, they stop by the age of 18 years. And this is the what difference between the plants and animals on the basis of growth. Okay, important point. In plants, the growth occurs throughout their lifespan, whereas in animals, the growth is seen only up to a certain age. Very basic points. Okay, all these things. Unicellular organisms grow by cell division. Non-living objects also, if we take increase in body mass as criterion for growth. However, this kind of growth exhibited by non-living objects is by accumulation of material on the surface of living organisms. Growth is from inside. So we can say that in case of non-living organism, you can see that sand, if once it was like this in a usual flat position, and after if you leave it for some days, you can see a mound of sand or a heap. Okay, not such like a mountain or a peak, just a like this a structure can be seen from the floor. That is what also can be defined as a growth. So whereby we can know that not only living organism but also non-living things grow. That is by the accumulation of objects on their surface, and these accumulation of objects leads to the increase in body mass, and that is what is said to be growth. And growth can be defined as we said first, it is an increase in mass and increase in number of individuals. Their count as well as their mass will be increasing, and we can say that this growth cannot be taken, mark it important, cannot be taken as a defining property of living organism. So please wait, let me take the NCRT textbook copies. Okay friends, look here. Living world, and in this session or in this slide you have to learn nothing, okay? Almost the very base, and I will mark the important things only in the NCRT, okay? Uh, okay, next slide. Okay, here you can see the important one of the features, or the features are given here: metabolism, ability to self-replicate, self-organize, interact. All these are certain features: growth, reproduction, ability to sense environment and mount a suitable response. All these are what is said to be the characteristics. Since I'm writing with a highlighter, it will be like this, okay? After NCRT, it will be back. And another important point is that all living organisms grow. And what is growth? Increase in mass and increase in number of individuals are twin characteristics of growth. All these I have included in my slide. And mark these points in your NCRT. Okay. Moving further. In this session or in this slide, what you have to mark is that in plants, very sorry, I'm facing some difficulty in marking. In plants, this growth is by cell division, occurs continuously throughout their lifespan. In animals, the growth is seen only up to a certain age. Okay, so that is after a certain age, the growth, the phenomenon or the process of growth stops in animals, whereas it continues. It continues till the death of a plant. Next point: non-living objects also grow. If we take increase in body mass as a criterion for growth, mountains, boulders, sand mounds do grow. This is a kind of growth exhibited by non-living object. It is by accumulation of material on their surface. And in living organism, the growth is from inside, whereas in non-living organism, the growth is from outside. That is the outside accumulation of object inside their body. Okay, therefore, we cannot say that the growth as a defining property of living organism. All clear about the growth? A dead organism doesn't grow. Not needed. So this is the very base of this growth. Next is about reproduction. Before that, I will be taking a small lecture about that. Reproduction. In the Jiffy, you can see that the reproduction by the cell division. I have to what in the previous year for the 10th standard, I have took the chapter of cell division. Okay, whereby you can see that a living organism divided into two, and the division of the cytoplasm, what is said to be the cytokinesis and nucleus karyokinesis. All these are things I have taught you. And next, what is about growth? All these have been taken from the NCERT. Okay, in multicellular organisms, reproduction refers to the production of progeny possessing features more or less similar to those of parents. More or less similar to those of parents. Okay, so it is the characteristic of living organism. It is a very basic characteristic of living organism, which means that okay, wait. The production of progeny possessing features more or less similar to those of parents. So the reproduction refers to can be seen like this. One cell divides into two. This can be said as a cell division. Cell division is a kind of reproduction. Hope it's clear about all of you are clear about this. Very basic. No need to go into deeper depths because we will be taking it in another session when we are starting after this foundation course. We will be taking it. Okay. Organism reproduce by sexual and asexual means that you all know. Reproduction is of two kinds. So write in your notebook. Reproduction is of two kinds. That is asexual and sexual. Some methods of asexual reproduction, that is the spore formation in fungi, budding in hydra, binary fission in amoeba, regeneration in planaria, that's a flatworms, fragmentation in filamentous algae, the protonema of mosses. In unicellular organism, reproduction is synonymous with growth. Okay. In case of unicellular organism, reproduction and growth are mutually exclusive in case of higher plants and animals. In unicellular organism, or for in case of higher plants and animals, reproduction and growth are exclusive, are in mutually exclusive in case of higher plants and animals. Okay, there are many organisms which do not reproduce, such as mules, sterile worker bees. So all these organisms are sterile, that means they do not reproduce, and this is what is through other treatments we can obtain the next generation as well. IVF. Okay, we can obtain the new generation. So reproduction also cannot be said as, though worker bees, mules, all are sterile, their generation is not extinct, they are reproducing. So we cannot say that the reproduction as an inclusive defining characteristic of living organism. It is not a defining property, just understand like that. We cannot say that reproduction. If an organism reproduce, we cannot say that it is a living organism. Okay, or if it is a, or it is a sorry, if an organism reproduce, we cannot say that it is non-living or living. We cannot differentiate like this because both living and non-living objects reproduce. Production of one some kind. For example, a stone. In case of non-living organism, a stone, due to disintegration, weathering, all those, it can break into different identical pieces. Okay, identical or not identical pieces, and it is what is said to be reproduction. Okay, before moving on to metabolism, let me show you the NCERT. Okay, fine. So reproduction likewise is a characteristic of living organism. Clear for you? In multicellular organism, the definition of reproduction refers to the production of progeny possessing features more or less similar to those of parents. So the of progeny or the offsprings of reproduction after reproduction are more or less similar to those of parents. They may be similar or they may be non-identical. Okay. So in two ways of reproduction, that is the sexual as well as sexual ways. Okay. And I hope doing this NCRT in a separate series, okay, so that you will be clear. Wait, I will be continuing with this. Okay, metabolism. The next property, that is a metabolism. Metabolism can be defined as the exchange of materials and energy within an organism or between organism and surrounding. No, before that, what is metabolism? It is a sum total of, like the definition, sum total of or biochemical reaction or biochemical reactions, sum total of all biochemical reactions. Clear? And that is the definition of metabolism. So all living beings have metabolic life processes, certain life process inside their body, certain process inside their body. All these are said to be as a term. The term given is the metabolism. Clear? Metabolism, and these activities are known to be metabolic activities. Metabolic activities. Okay. So another characteristic of life is metabolism. All living organisms are made up of what? Chemicals. All living organisms are made up of certain harmless chemicals or harmful chemicals, such as all living organisms harmful or harmless chemicals, because it's almost some bacteria and all there are harmful chemicals which may be toxic if entered in our body. So these chemicals, small and big, belonging to various classes, sizes or functions, etc. Whether it is of various types, anyway, it may be harmful or useful for us. And these metabolic reactions are of two types of metabolic reactions. That is the anabolic reactions. Metabolism of two types. That is, one is the anabolism. One second. Let me clear it. So one is anabolism and the other is catabolism. Okay. Anabolism and catabolism can be termed as for two types of metabolic activities or the metabolism. Anabolism is a constructive metabolism, construction of metabolic activities. Okay, it may be constructing, and catabolism is the destructive. Or catabolism is the destructive metabolism. Clear? Construction and destruction. Okay, fine. All plants, animals, fungi, and microbes exhibit metabolism. Metabolic reactions can be termed can be demonstrated outside the body in cell-free systems. An isolated metabolic reaction outside the body is performed in a test tube is neither a living or non-living. So we can say that the metabolism is a defining feature of living organism. Defining feature. Without any exception, isolated metabolic reaction in vitro are not living things but surely living reactions. Okay, and this metabolism is 100% Neet aspirant question. Okay, Neet question. And yeah, so don't worry about Neet exam, and we will be uploading the sessions later about for Neet. Okay, that's why I'm not mentioning anything. I'm just reading about what is about organs. And another property is the cellular organization. Cellular organization. And what is the cellular organization? It is a defining feature of all life forms as body of living organism consists. So all organisms are made up of one or two cells, one or more cells, not one or two, one, two or more cells. Okay. Therefore, we can say that this cellular organization, whereas non-living organism lack cells. So the cellular organization is a defining property. It's a well-defining property of what? Well-defining property of living organism. And that's all in this slide. Tigmotropism. Look, ability to sense and suitable and mount a suitable response. The most obvious and technically complicated feature of all living organisms is the ability to sense their surroundings. Ability to sense their surroundings or environment and to respond to these environmental stimuli. We sense our environment through our senses or living organism from the prokaryotes to the most complex eukaryotes can sense and respond to the environmental cues. As a human being, the only organism who is aware of himself has self-consciousness. And this ability to respond to the environment, to sense and respond to an external stimuli is what is said to be consciousness. Consciousness. And we can say that this consciousness is a defining property of all living organisms. Plants as well as a living organism respond to this consciousness. That's what the example has been known in the jiffy of pygmotropism. Clear? All phenomena due to underlying interactions, properties of tissues are not present in constituent cells but arise as a result of interactions among the constituent cells. Similarly, the properties of cellular organelles are not present in molecular. So these interactions result in emergent properties at a higher level of organization. This phenomenon is true in the hierarchical organization complexity. So after completing all these properties, what is a living organism? Living organism can be defined as self-replicating, evolving, and self-regulating interactive systems capable of responding to an external stimuli. And this is the definition for a living organism. Clear? Okay, fine. And after that, please wait. Diversity in the living world. So you know that. Have you heard this? IUCN, International Union of Conservation of Natural Union for Conservation of Natural Resources. International Union for Conservation of Natural Resources. By heart it Neet MCQ. 100% Neet MCQ. Okay, very important. So as according to the IUCN, very sorry, IUCN, IUCZN and IZBN, all these you see in the furthest Wikipedia itself. That's why I was a bit confused. Okay, so according to IUCN, there are 1.7 to 1.8 million species in our Earth. In Earth, there are more than 1.7 into 1.8 million species, and this is what is said to be biodiversity. Okay, different organism. So in order to know that And for an organism, if for example your name, for example your name, a particular name, it may be same. It's a common name for all. Okay, it's a common name. Whereas when you go to some other place, for example, for a case of fruit, apple, or else for mango. In our country, we can say it as mango, whereas in some other countries or in some other places, it has some other names. Therefore, in order to avoid the confusion, okay, in order to avoid the confusion, a scientist known as Casper Bohen, known as Casper Bohen, proposed the system of nomenclature. Proposed the system of nomenclature. Nomenclature refers to naming. Nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know to what the organism name is attached to. And this is what is said to be identification. For suitable identification at different regions, we have proposed a particular scientific name for each organism. For example, in case of mango, it is defined as Mangifera indica. All these you have learned in the very basic chapters, the scientific name, and it should be underlined. All these you know. Okay, but in this lesson you have to learn some more detail. Okay, for plants, and these principles of naming is proposed by a scientist known as Caspar Bauhan. Caspar Bauhan. Okay, I will text it. Scientist name is Caspar Bauhan. He proposed. What does he do? He proposed this system of naming. Whereas another scientist known as Carl Linnaeus, look the spelling carefully, very important. Carl Linnaeus established the system of nomenclature. Established the system of nomenclature. Okay. And this, after this, what happened is that, okay, please wait 1 second. This nomenclature, okay, this nomenclature is of two types. Before coming on to the binomial nomenclature, the nomenclature is of two types. That is a binomial nomenclature and trinomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature, I have told you the example of Mangifera indica, or binomial nomenclature, the example may be musculus. Right, musculus. So an example for binomial nomenclature, underline. And for trinomial nomenclature, the example is gorilla. It's an example for trinomial nomenclature. Okay, gorilla, and not and is not there. Gorilla. First G capital and other for other two gorilla, the cap G is small. Fine, and should underline it. This is the trinomial nomenclature. And this binomial nomenclature was proposed by a scientist known as Carl Linnaeus. Carl Linnaeus. And this trinomial nomenclature was proposed by a scientist known as Lamarck. Lamarck proposed this trinomial nomenclature. And the example for binomial, you can call Homo sapiens, Mangifera indica, Pisums, Xylem, Panthera, Leopanthera, Tigris, Mus musculus. All these are examples. Mus musculus means the white rat in your house. Okay, all those rats. And trinomial nomenclature proposed by Lamar, example gorilla, 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 all those names. Okay, fine. After that, for plants, the scientific names are based on the principles and criteria put forward by the ICBN, International Code for Botanical Garden. Sorry, Botanical Nomenclature. International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. And for animal, it is International Code for Zoological Nomenclature, ICZN. All these abbreviations are very, very important for the NEET as well as for your board examinations. Scientific name ensure that each organism has only one name throughout the world. Okay. Binomial nomenclature proposed by a scientist known as Carl Linnaeus. Binomial nomenclature proposed by a scientist known as Carl Linnaeus. Okay. Wait. Okay. Moving further. Universally accepted principles to provide universally accepted principles to provide scientific names. Okay. What are they? Each name has two components. That is a generic name and the specific epithet. Before learning that, you should learn one thing. That's what I have told you to stop. Taxonomical hierarchy. Yeah, same slide. Okay. There are certain taxonomical categories. Taxonomical categories is a classification involving the hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or a category. For that, you should know the hierarchy of binomial nomenclature. The hierarchy, the very basic or the fundamental unit of classification is the species. And the group of related species form the genus. Aggregates of closely related species is what is said to be genus. Assemblage of closely related genus forms family. Assemblage of closely related genus form family. Assemblage of related families form order. Assemblage of related families form order. Related orders, collection of related orders form the class. Related orders from the class. Assemblage of related classes is what is said to be a phylum. Related class is said to be a phylum. Phylum, cluster of phyla is said to be, or phylum is said to be a kingdom. And above kingdom, the highest category, that is what is said to be the domain. Domain. Okay. Species. And the term species is coined by a scientist known as John Ray. John Ray. Okay. So it is a fundamental unit of classification. Fundamental unit of classification. Okay. Species having more than one ideal type according to their geographical isolated area is what is said to be polytypic species. Polytypic species. Wait. Okay. After telling genus, I will give you the example for the species and genus. Okay. Genus, it is the assemblage of what? Related species. And genus, I have told you a scientific name. Mangifera indica. In case of that scientific name, the term Mangifera refers to the genus name and the term term indica refers to the species name. Okay. Mangifera is a generic name and the species is a specific epithet. Specific epithet. Okay, fine. Since a category is a part of all overall taxonomic arrangement, it is called a taxonomic category. And all taxonomic categories together constitute a taxonomic hierarchy. Each category is referred to as a unit of classification, represents a rank, commonly termed as taxon. Neat MCQ. Neat MCQ. Okay. Next is the family. It is a group of genes, or sorry, group of genus to the related genera with still less number of similarities as compared to genes and species. Example for the family is that Felidae, Felidae, Canidae. All these are examples for family. Order. It is an assemblage of related families. For example, carnivore is an order. Carnivore. Sorry, related family, assemblage of related family. And the example is carnivore. Primates. Primates. All these are orders. Class. It is an assemblage of related orders. Okay, assemblage of related orders. For example, class. Okay. Class Mammalia. Okay. Phylum. It is a classes comprising animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, along with mammals, constitute the next higher category known as the phylum. Okay. All these are based on the common features like presence of notochord and dorsal hollow neural system are included in phylum chordata. In case of plants, classes with few similar phylum. In case of animals, this can be termed as phylum. And in case of plants, it is what is said to be a division. Okay. Kingdom. It is the highest hierarchy, highest category. Highest category. Okay. Kingdom Animalia, that includes all the animals belonging to various phyla are assigned to the highest category. That is the kingdom. Clear? Now we are moving back to the binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature. So after this, you can know that each of these have two names. Name has two components: generic name and the specific epithet. And the Mangifera is the generic name, and the Indica is the specific or the species epithet. Biological names are generally written in Latin and are written in italics. So the biological or the scientific name should be Latinized, or when typed it should be in italics. When handwritten it should be underlined. Both the biological terms when handwritten are separately underlined, printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. The first word denoting the genus starts with the capital letter. Generic name's first letter of the generic name starts with the capital letter, whereas specific epithet starts and entirely deals with the small letter. The name of the order appears after the specific epithet. For example, Mangifera written in abbreviated form at the end of biological name and is written in abbreviated form. Mangifera indica. Okay. Classification. It is a process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characteristic. The scientific term of these characteristics or unit of these categories is known as a taxon. All living organisms can be classified into different taxa, and this classification is what is said to be the taxonomy. So define taxonomy. Important. External or internal structure along with structure of cell, development and ecological information of organisms are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic studies. Characterization, identification, classification and nomenclature are the processes that are basic to taxonomy. Next is systematics. So the difference between taxonomy and systematics, you should refer it. Okay. The branch of study of knowing more about different kinds of organisms, their diversities and their relationship among them is known as systematics. And Carl Linnaeus written a book known as Systemae Naturae. Okay. Okay. Systemae Naturae. Okay, moving on to the next slide. What we have discussed. Next is the taxonomical aids. Okay. Taxonomical aids different. There are different taxonomical aids. Taxonomical aids is for the preservation, conservation, and storage of dried or living or non-living species. Clear? First is the herbarium, botanical garden, manual, flora, fauna, keys, zoological parks, museum, monograph. All these are different taxonomical aids. Okay. So what is a herbarium? Herbarium is a storehouse of collected plant specimens. So very basic first point of this definition. Storehouse of collected plant specimens that are dried, pressed and preserved on sheets. Dried, pressed and preserved on sheets. For example, if this is a herbarium sheet, the plant specimens will be the plant. Okay. Okay, for example, this is a plant. Here it will be in this space provided. Here will be noting certain names, certain points for future reference, such as date of the plant, date of collection of the plant, place of collection, date and place of collection. So all these are very important. Date and place of collection. So one neat question. As after telling this, I will tell you. English name, vernacular or local name, botanical name, family of the plant, name of the collector. All these should be written there for future reference. Okay, future reference. And the name or the label of a herbarium sheet doesn't have the information on, doesn't contain the information on one neat question. And the answer, all these points were given, and the answer option D was the answer. Height of the plant. Height is not given in the label of the herbarium sheet or in the list of herbarium sheet. Okay. This is the herbarium where plants are stored. Dried, pressed and preserved specimens of plants. Another thing, herbarium, list of herbarium. Royal Botanical Garden. Royal Botanical Garden. Royal Botanical Garden. Where it is Kew. Where is Kew in England? Or Central National Herbarium at Kolkata. Central National Herbarium at Calcutta. Calcutta. Old. Botanical Gardens. Second taxonomical aid is a botanical garden. Specialized gardens having collections of living plants for future reference. Plant specimens, species in these gardens are known for identification and purposes, and each plant, all those things are not needed. Botanical gardens, famous. So these botanical gardens are a kind of ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation, that is, living plants are used for future reference. Living plants. Okay. Royal Botanical Garden at Kew in England. National Botanical Garden at Calcutta. Indian Botanical Garden at Howrah in India. Okay. National Botanical Research Institute at Lucknow in India. Lloyd, Lloyd. Lloyd Botanical Garden at Darjeeling. Lloyd Botanical Garden at Darjeeling. Clear? This is about botanical garden. It's a botanical garden. All these plant specimens are living plant specimens are stored. Okay, for future reference. Museum. Biological museums are set up in educational institutes such as schools and colleges. They have collections of preserved plant and animal species. Both plant and animal species are found there for future reference. This is a museum. Look, you can see the animal and plant specimen. They are protected, well protected there. Next is the zoological parks. Okay, you can see different organisms. What is in short zoo? Places where wild animals are kept in protected environments under human care, which enables us to learn about their food habits and behavior. Okay, zoological parks. Look, all these what you can see in the zoo. Next taxonomical aid is key. Key is a taxonomical aid used for the identification of plants and animals. Identification of plants and animals based on similarities and dissimilarities. They are based on contrasting characters, generally in a pair called couplet. Generally in a pair called couplet. Okay. It represents choice made between two options, results in the acceptance of only one and rejection of other. Each statement in a key is known as a lead or let anything. Separate taxonomic keys are required for each taxonomic category, such as family, genus, and species. For identification purposes, they are generally analytical in nature. Clear? Taxonomic keys. Like this. First, there will be a question point will be asked. Dry skin, yes or no? If it is no, if the organism will be this one, salamander or something. If it is yes, next question, whether it has hair, yes or no. If it is no, it will be this. If it is yes, another question like that. If it is yes, next question, whether it is bipedal. If it is no, it is gorilla, and if it is yes, it is humans. From thereby, we can conclude that the organism is a human. That is what about taxonomic keys. Flora, manuals, monographs, catalogs. Flora contains actual amount. All these are basic definitions. I will take it in the NCRT series. Okay. And that's all for today. If you like this video, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel.